Some days you're just not really feeling it, right? You're just kind of tired, lethargic, heavy, but you still want to move your body, and you know that by the end of a yoga practice, you'll feel more energized. And I've been in that place many times, so I created this practice for that exact reason. So when you're feeling low energy, to go with it and to not try to force yourself into a fast-paced vinyasa class, but to ease into some movement, to feel better in your body, and by the end of it, feel a little recharged and reset. So this is yoga for when you're feeling low energy, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll be feeling a little bit more refreshed and recharged. And this is an all levels practice, but if you want to get more specific guidance on courses and practices for you at your level, go to quietmind.yoga in the link below, and you can take my free mini quiz and assessment so you can see exactly where you are and what programs I might recommend to help you continue to see growth and progress in your practice. And always building strength, flexibility, and balance. Not just flexibility, not just pushing yourself, as some yoga often is, just trying to push yourself, but meeting you where you are. And today that means meeting you with the low energy, and that's a great place to be and a great place to start. So if you enjoy this practice, click like, leave a comment, let me know what you liked and what you want to see more of, and click subscribe so you can be updated as soon as the new episodes come out every week here on the Quiet Mind Yoga YouTube channel. All right, thanks for watching and enjoy your practice. All right, so just checking in and starting to notice how you're feeling as you start today, starting to take some slower, deeper breaths down to your lower belly. Notice if there's any tension in your shoulders that could soften, your arms, your belly. And we'll just go with this energy of being low energy today, as I know a lot of people are. Just doing less, not pushing ourselves too much today, and just kind of having this time to be in the body and more meditative kind of practice. So we'll start really slow with moving the hands to the knees and starting to move your spine any way that feels good. Forward, back, side to side. Just feeling out how you're feeling here in the body. Shoulders, spine, arms. And we'll come back to more of a neutral spine in the middle and just lift the shoulders up and then down the back a couple times, making some movements in the shoulders in both directions. Come back to the center and reach your left arm out to your left, your right arm up overhead into a side bend. And you can add a little rotation of you turning your chest down or up. You can let your head hang down. Any variation of this, just easing into side bend. And keep that the same, but reach your right arm straight out to your right. And so you get the stretch in your upper neck and shoulders and the traps. Keep that as you move your neck around here. And we'll slowly come over to the other side. Side bend. You can turn your chest down or up here, any variation of this. And reach your left arm straight out to the left so you feel this lengthening of your trapezius muscle and upper neck and shoulders. Move your neck around here. And now lower your hand down and just come back to sitting. And we'll come into a little twist. Turn to your left. So your left hand lands behind you. Right hand on your knee and extend your spine like cobra, and then use that length to rotate to your left. You can move your neck around here if you want. And then we'll slowly go to the other side. Same thing. Long spine, rotating. Then we'll come back to the center and uncross the legs and come down to your back. So bring your knees in and rock a little side to side on your back. So again, we're just going with this, not pushing ourselves, being real gentle and doing all the movements of the spine, all the movements of the arms and legs as we go through our practice. So we'll hold outside of the knees, shins, or feet for happy baby pose. And we'll just hold and breathe here a few breaths. So everything going a little slower today. Less effort, more ease. You might even slowly extend one leg at a time at the knee, getting into the hamstrings and calves, the back of the legs. And then we'll bring the soles of the feet together down to your mat in bound angle pose. We'll hold there, feet together, knees apart. And you can rest hands on your belly, your heart, or overhead, whatever's comfortable for you. Let your exhales become a little longer here. Now start to bring your knees back towards each other, feet on the floor, and cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Stay there and press your right thigh away. Or hold your hands behind your left thigh or shin. Shoulders and neck stay relaxed in this version of pigeon. Bringing awareness now to your outer right hip. Just giving ourselves some space and quiet and longer time in the poses today. And we'll slowly release from here to switch to the other side. Make any little movements in between that you want. No rush. Full permission to just move slow, be kind of lazy today, totally fine. And then we'll slowly release on this side. And you can make little movements if you want. And let your feet back down to the floor, knees bent, feet on the floor. So now bring your right foot under your left leg to your left hand. So we're getting into the quads and hip flexors, the front of the right thigh. So Henry, for this one, is your right foot, it goes under your left leg rather than over it. So making sure we address all of the circumference of the legs. Right now, let's focus on the front of the hips and the quads. Now we'll slowly transition to the other side. Again, with feet on the floor to start. Bring your left foot under your right leg to your right hand. Let your left knee lower. You could stay there or bring your right knee in to your left hand. We'll hold and breathe here. Now let that go and have both feet on the floor again. And we'll bring the knees into the hands. So one hand on each kneecap. As you exhale, pull your knees in, rounding your back. And as you inhale, press your knees forward, arching your back. So do this movement a couple of times. Exhaling when your knees come in, and inhaling when your knees go out. So bringing awareness to the tilting of the pelvis. Usually when we're sitting, the pelvis is kind of fixed in one position of rounding the lower back, which can cause all sorts of back pain and hip issues. But here we kind of free up that movement. And now we'll let the feet land on the floor. Feet are about hips width, setting up for a bridge pose. And fingertips can touch your heels so your feet aren't too far forward. And start to peel the spine up on the inhale into bridge. And exhale one vertebrae at a time back down. Continue like this, inhaling to come up and exhaling to come down. Creating a wave of motion through the spine. Engaging your core when you come up. And next time you rise up, we'll hold there in the bridge pose. Feet press down, hips lift up, and you can stay there or crawl your shoulder blades underneath and down and interlace your hands, pressing your arms down. A couple of breaths here. And slowly release the arms, spine back down, and separate your feet a little wider apart and let your knees just move side to side like windshield wipers. Not trying to get a super deep stretch anywhere here, by just moving the fluid in the joints and the hips. Now we'll come back to the center and bring the knees in to rock forward and back, massaging the spine from tail to shoulders. All the way up to sitting, over to hands and knees. And we'll just start to make any movements that feel good from there. Hips, shoulders, spine. Listening to your body, moving intuitively. But still just being really easy and gentle, not trying to do anything crazy today. We'll come back to a neutral spine for cat-cow as you exhale around your back, draw your navel and chin in. And as you inhale, extend your spine, creating a wave of motion throughout your whole spine. Bringing more awareness to the upper, middle, and lower spine. Next time you come into the cat pose, we'll hold there, either in cat or move to rabbit pose, where you have your forehead towards your knees and grab onto your heels. And we'll let that go back to the cow pose, extending your spine, arching your back. And you can stay right there in cow pose, or Anahatasana, the heart chakra pose. Hips are over the knees, forehead down or chin down. A few breaths here. And we'll start to come back up to the hands and knees. Into a side bend to your right. So shortening your right side, lengthening your left side, walking your hands out. And you could stay in this sort of hands and knees version, or reach your arms further out. It's a different angle, feeling into what your body needs today. And we'll slowly come back up to the other side. Side bend to your left. Left ribs shorten, right ribs lean to the right to lengthen. And you could do any variation of this. You can walk your arms more straight if you want. And we'll come back to hands and knees in the middle for a twist. Your left arm through, left shoulder down, left side of your head down. Getting into the upper back. And you can press into your right hand. You could extend your right leg, press into your foot. Just any version of this upper back rotation. And then when you're ready, you just twist to the other side. Same thing. Your right arm reaching through. Right shoulder down. And we'll come back to the center, to the hands and knees. And ease into downward facing dog. You can bend one knee at a time here. You can shift your weight side to side. And we'll bring the Knees back down to the ground. Step your right foot forward into a low lunge. And we'll start to move with the breath as you inhale forward into the low lunge and exhale back to half splits, straightening your right leg. So any amount, inhaling forward and exhaling back. Next time you come into the half splits, we'll stay there with the straight right leg. Hold and breathe. And you can do more or less. You can have hands on blocks or books or whatever you have nearby. Or you can have hands on the ground. You can focus on rounding your back. And even point your toes here to get into the shin and the tibialis muscle. And then we'll come forward into the low lunge. Now here, if you want to stay with the lower energy, kind of slowing down, you can come down to your hands or elbows inside of your foot, lizard lunge. Or a little more energizing, start to raise your arms up overhead like a Y or a W. So do what feels right for you here, listening to your body. And then we'll start to transition to Malasana, or you step your left foot up to the left side of your mat, and the hips sink down into a low squat. Hands come together at the heart. Now, if it's a little too much, you can lift your heels, but if you're okay with the heels down, stay there. Letting your back round. And then we'll lower the hands down and step the right knee back and down. So the sequence on this side, as you inhale, you'll come forward into the lunge, and you exhale back to half splits. Just a couple of times, moving into the connective tissue, and the ligaments, and the hips and knees. Not trying to get any super deep stretches here, but now we'll come back to the half splits and hold there, and maybe sink into a little bit more lengthening of the hamstrings. You could point your toes to stretch the shins. It's okay if your back rounds here, as long as you feel something happening in the back of your left leg. That's what we're going for here. And we'll slowly come forward into the low lunge, down to, again, you can come down, hands or elbows, lizard lunge, or you can come up. Arms like a Y or a W. A few breaths here. And if you're on your elbows, coming back to your hands, and we'll transition into Skandasana. So you'll turn out to your right a little bit. Left heel can lift, right heel presses down to turn your toes up. And hold here, this sort of half squat. And maybe one hand to your heart if you want to challenge your balance, maybe both hands. But again, feeling low energy today, just do less and use the ground. And when you're ready, to slowly transition to the same pose on the other side. Right knee bends, left toes turn up. Now to the wide-legged forward fold, both legs straighten, long spine, and you can fold at the waist. You can have hands on blocks. Any variation of this you want to do. Stay still or move. And from here, we'll just start to bend into one knee at a time, left to right. And come back to the center and turn towards the front of your mat to step up to forward fold. And you can kind of hang out here and bend in your knees as you slowly roll up your spine one vertebrae at a time to standing. Head comes up last. Setting up for mountain pose. So you can kind of walk your feet out a little bit, find your footing where it feels natural for your feet to land. Maybe a little turned out, maybe a little wider, whatever feels right for you. And we'll reach the arms up overhead and catch your left wrist into a side bend to your right. We'll come up to the center, over to the other side, side bend. And we'll come back to the center to lower the hands down behind you, interlace your hands, and reach your arms back, lifting your heart. Shoulder blades down and together. Hinge at your waist with your arms coming overhead. You can bend your knees. Any amount lifting your arms up overhead increases the grounding and parasympathetic nervous system effect on the body. And slowly release the arms down. And again, use your core and your legs to roll up the spine to stand. Head comes up last. And you'll reach the arms up overhead and hook your thumbs to come into a mild back bend. Just lifting your heart, lifting your arms, extending your spine. Holding there, kind of the opposite of the last pose. And back bends in general can be kind of energizing, and the sympathetic nervous system gets activated. So it can help us bring a little more energy into the body. And we'll just let the arms come back down beside you. And bring your hands to your waist, finding your center of gravity here. So shift your weight into your left foot and turn your right toes and knee out for tree pose. Find a spot to focus your eyes. And you can stay at the ankle, calf, or thigh. Hands can be at the waist, the heart, or overhead. We'll stay here a couple of breaths. So having to focus the eyes and find your center is another subtle way to increase energy in the body without going too fast. And then we'll slowly come down and switch to the other side. Weight into your right foot. Tree pose. Foot at your ankle, calf, or thigh. Hands at your waist, your heart, or up overhead. And we'll slowly come back down, back to standing. And hands on the waist. And we'll step the left foot back just a couple inches. So not quite a lunge. So we're just stepping the left foot back a couple inches. And then reach your arms back like you're in locust pose with straight arms, contracting your triceps to lift your heart. And just lean forward a little bit. So it's like a very small warrior 3, where you're just lifting your back leg, you're engaging your glutes, hamstrings, triceps, the whole back of your body activating without a ton of effort. You can even point your left toes to get your calves activating. Strong back of your body. Again, this back bend creates a little energy as well. And then we'll switch to the other side. So standing, right foot steps back just like a couple inches. Heart lifts, arms straight. Lift your right leg any amount. Strengthening glutes, hamstrings, pointing your toes to get the calves to work as well. And then slowly back to stand, let it go. Interlace your hands behind your back with the non-dominant grip. So it feels a little awkward. Good for the brain to switch that up. And again, with a slight bend in your knees, folding at the waist. Arms come overhead, lengthening the back of the body where we just did all that contracting. Then we'll release the hands down to shins or the floor or blocks if you have them. You don't have to have them, but if they're there, just grab them. And then we'll bend the left knee and shift your weight towards your right hip. So we're getting into the outer right hip, IT band area. Right leg is straight, left knee is bent. And then we'll switch that to the same thing on the other side. Right knee bends, left leg is straight, and lean your weight into your left hip. It's getting into the TFL, IT band, the outer hips. And we'll come back to center, both legs straight, and hands on anywhere on the legs, folding over both legs. Now with a bend in the knees, engage your core and slowly roll up to stand one last time. No rush. If you feel a little lightheaded, you can look at a spot on the floor. Back to mountain pose, resetting. And hands on the waist. 2, step your left foot back to warrior 2 legs. So hands stay on the waist though. So warrior 2 legs. And bend into the front knee a little bit, right? It doesn't have to be your deepest warrior 2. Just listening to your body here. And we'll bring the right forearm to the right thigh and start to make circles and movements of the left shoulder in all directions. Wrap your left arm around your back, palm faces away. As if you're trying to crawl your left hand up your back. Any amount. You could stay there or move into a bind if you want. But again, just being gentle, no rush, not trying to push yourself too much today. And then we'll slowly come back to the sort of warrior 2 legs and hands on the waist. And we'll just step up to the front of the mat to switch sides. So right foot goes back. Warrior 2 legs, but hands on the waist. Forearm to thigh. And make circles and movements of your right shoulder. Now wrap your arm around your back, palm faces away. Try to crawl your hand up your back towards the middle, between the shoulders. Any amount in that direction, and then stay there or move into a full bind. Left shoulder inside your knee to reach back and clasp your hands. And then slowly back to the warrior two legs, hands on the waist. And back up to the front of the mat, mountain pose. Arms reach up overhead, extending your spine. Again, hook your thumbs and come into that back bend, extending your spine. And forward fold, all the way down, knees can bend. And we'll come back to downward facing dog. A few breaths to hold there. And then to child's pose, either knees apart, arms forward, or knees together, arms back. And a few slow, deep breaths here in child's pose. Now we'll start to come up to the stomach. So moving up to laying on your belly. And we'll bring the right arm straight out to your right, in line with the shoulder, right? Not overhead, but straight out to the right. And roll onto your right side of your body. The left foot lands behind you. For stability, your head can be on the floor, or if it doesn't feel comfortable there, on a block. And your left arm can wrap around your back here. You'll hold and breathe there. Moving a little deeper into the chest and shoulder. Now we'll roll back to the stomach, go over to the other side, same thing. Now come back to the stomach and we'll move into a similar thing here, but have your left arm now reach straight in front of you overhead. So you can roll onto your left side again, like you just were, but this time your chest and shoulder is not really being stretched as much. So your right hand can help you stabilize, and your right hip now can move in circles in any direction. Any kind of movements of the right hip and knee that feel good for you. Just like we did with the shoulder, but now moving the right hip. And have your right leg straighten out and reach back behind you about a foot or two. Straight right leg, and reach your right arm in the opposite direction. So it's kind of a diagonal line of your right side, getting into the obliques, the ribs, the intercostals. Now we'll slowly let all that go and just bring your right knee in front of you. So you're still on your left side, but your right knee's in front of you. And extend the right leg out in front of you any amount. Getting into more of the outer right leg. Now stay here or bend your left knee and grab your foot. If it doesn't quite reach, that's okay. But any amount, you could bend your left knee and grab your foot with your right hand. And last thing you could add if you want here is rolling onto your back, and then your left hand catches your right leg or foot. So it's a little more of a twist that way. So any version of this along the way, we've gone step by step, so you can always do more or less. Now we'll let all of that go and move over to your stomach. To have your right arm reach straight out in front of you and roll onto your right side. So here the left hand can help you stabilize, make circles and movements of your left leg. Left leg reaches straight back, a foot or two. Left arm reaches in the opposite direction, so your whole body's in this sort of diagonal line, or your left side of your body is. And let that go. Bring your left knee to the floor in front of you. And extend your left leg out in front of you any amount. Bend the right knee to grab the foot with your left hand. If it doesn't work, you can just skip that part. And if you're good there and you want a little more, you can use your right hand to grab your left leg and roll onto your back. So making it more of a twist. And then we'll just let all that go and come down to your back. And just laying on your back on your mat. And again, we'll have the knees come in and to happy baby pose, holding outside of knees, shins, or feet. And let your feet back down to the floor. And we'll do some sort of elevating the legs. So first option would be just having your hands creating a sort of diamond shape under your sacrum to support your tail and lift your legs straight up. You could stay like that. If you're near a wall or a couch or something, you could scoot over to that and put your legs up, elevated on the wall or the couch. Same kind of shape, but less work. Or if there's something else you want to do, like shoulder stand or headstand, we'll be here for a little while, so you could do one of those for several breaths if you want. Then come back to one of these other versions of elevating the legs. And then we'll all start to transition just to Savasana. But you could stay with legs at the wall if you want, but otherwise just laying on your back, giving us more time to just rest today and do less. If there's any last movements you want to do, please do that. Listen to your body, do what feels right for you. Letting go of any effort that's still there in the shoulders, the arms, the legs. Letting your breath become less effort, more ease. Whole body, less effort, more ease. We'll have about 2 more minutes to just rest in stillness here. Now slowly start to transition. Again, listening to your body, moving in a way that feels right for you. We'll eventually come back to comfortable seated posture. And we'll just take a moment to close the practice with hands together at the heart, bowing the mind to the heart and to each other. Thank you for practicing today. Namaste.